All right, ladies and gentlemen, some physique updates from Chris Bumstead. Under 3 weeks out from the Mr. Olympia. Can he defend his title again for the fifth time for the Classic Physique title? We'll definitely find out very, very soon. But welcome back to the Bodybuilding News Network. I'm your host, Josh Sanch, as always, and looking at these most recent shots from Mr. CBUM, we can tell that he's definitely sharpened up in the last week, the last 2 weeks. The footage on the left is the most recent, and you can see a lot of detail, a lot of striations in the legs, a lot of feathering, the deep cuts, vascularity even, and that is something very impressive to see around this part of a prep. Typically, you start depleting and you start getting flat, and then the last week of the show is when you start to fill up, the last few days. But I mean, Chris Bumstead's such a professional at this. He's been doing it so long that he must have a very dialed in formula for this prep and how to perfectly peak for these shows. It's also a huge benefit that he only does peak for one show. He does the Mr. Olympia competition, and that's it. And I think that definitely helps with his prep and being able to only have to peak once a year, which is really a benefit that no one else on that stage has outside of, I think everyone, right? Everyone in that top five in the first call out competed, except Breon. I don't think Breon competed last year. So this is going to be an exciting Classic Physique Olympia. Let me know your predictions down below. We will be there for those sweet, sweet interviews. Next up, Samson Dauda sharing not a lot of crazy physique updates, but they are impressive. They're not really showing too much, but that's okay. He doesn't have to. It's a good strategy. I think a lot of these guys are showing almost too much coming into the Olympia, and it could hurt their placings. It could hurt their hype if they're showing too much. So I think that there's nothing wrong with Samson's current strategy. He does show off the legs quite a bit, especially coming into this next clip here. You can see him showing a interesting, he's holding it with his hand. I haven't seen that before, but definitely those bars don't look questionable in a video. So I guess that is something good to point out here. Definitely no editing going on with this footage. The hamstrings are looking phenomenal. You know, my prediction, he's got to be a top 6 guy, right? He's got to be top 6. But let me know your predictions on Samson Dauda as he comes into the Mr. Olympia for his second Mr. Olympia title competition, I guess, right? For the second time he's been coming into the Olympia. Derek Lunsford, honestly set to really make history if he does win this Mr. Olympia this year. The only open Mr. Olympia contender or future champion to never have competed and never qualified for the Mr. Olympia in the division that he won. In the open division, he's never competed outside the Olympia. He got that special invitation. And there's, you know what, there's just something that just feels wrong about it. Honestly, I want to see all these guys compete. Hadi, I'd like to see him compete at least in one show a year outside the Olympia, just to keep things exciting. I feel like we've lost a lot of these guys from back in the day, and I really wish we would get to see more competing from these top guys. We just haven't seen it lately, and I don't know. I think it's affected the recent shows. The competition in the 2023 season, I didn't think was as exciting. We didn't get to see, Steve Kuklo was out, William Bonek was out. There was a lot of guys that we didn't see in the open division that I can't even think about all the names. I'd have to really look at the competitor list from, last year's Texas, last year's Chicago, and point out, who we missed this year. Now, we did have a lot of newcomers coming into the shows that are making things very exciting, and I think that that's great for the sport. But, you don't have Roley. Sean Roden passed away, so we don't have him anymore, and Phil retired. Kai doesn't compete anymore. A lot of guys just kind of walked away. What was the guy with the glutes from, was it Romania? I forgot his name, but he used to compete, and now I haven't seen him compete in a while. So a lot of guys not competing anymore, and you can't really say it's a bad thing or a good thing, but it's definitely something to keep in mind when we look at the competitor list for the Olympia coming up. There's also a lot of guys, I know we're at the end of the video, but there's also a lot of guys that didn't compete, or not didn't compete, but they haven't posted physique updates for the Olympia. And it makes me wonder, who's in and who's out. So that'll be another video coming out very soon. So stay tuned for that. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this style of content. We have plenty more content coming out for the Olympia, and lots more interviews coming out post Olympia. And of course, during the Olympia, I'll be posting the live on the scene, doing those interviews and posting them up immediately. So stay tuned for those. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, subscribe. Thanks for watching the Bodybuilding News Network. I'm your host, Josh Sanch, and I'll see you in the next one.